I'd like to introduce to you our security team that's going to bring to you Secure Sense SD-WAN solution. So we have on the phone Michael Cipollone, Annie Gupal, and Delvinder Kular. Mike's been in the business for a long time, 18 years. He's sold everything from hardware to software, and most recently our cybersecurity team. He brings with us many designations and specifically in Fortinet space. We're really happy to have him. He supports myself really here in Ontario, and for all your channel requirements when it comes to individual opportunities. And then we've got Annie in Quebec and out east. And again, I've known Annie in and around TELUS, and it's been 16 years with TELUS. And then, of course, her most recent experience in the field of sales, and throughout her years, various roles, she is known to develop knowledge and relationships in all market segments in Quebec. And then Delvinder, again, I think we're like top heavy on the years of experience here, but 18 years with TELUS, and he's responsible for Secure Sense channel in the West. So for those of you with myself in BC and Delicia, Delvinder's role encompasses the entire value chain and frequent liaison with operations, sales, and marketing and technical teams from both organizations to realize synergies and best position Secure Sense in the TELUS for success in the market. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to our team and welcome Annie, Delvinder, and Michael. It's great to have you on the call today.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
Great to be here, and we're excited to be here. Slight correction, been with TELUS for just about 3 years, but been in cybersecurity a lot longer than that. So I wish it was 18 years. I'll get up there one day.
Nice.
Good morning, team. Thank you, and good afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are at. Thank you for joining us today. As Sean mentioned, my name is Delvinder Kular. I'm the Senior Channel Manager responsible for the Secure Sense channel here in Western Canada, BC, and Alberta. Sean did such a great job with introductions. I'm not going to really go into this slide. The only addition I will make, we have Grant Merkley on the call as well, who is our Senior SE, and he serves us nationally, so supporting Annie, Michael, and myself. Looking at the agenda, I will start by providing a brief overview of the market, the challenges that customers face, and introduce our latest service, a solution that we're very happy with, is Secure SD-WAN. Michael will then talk about what we've done to ensure its success and the exposure it's received in the marketplace. He'll then give us an overview of Fortinet, the platform that the solution is built on, and talk about the 3 pillars of differentiation that they have. From here, Annie will give you some insights into Secure Sense, what makes them so unique and strong in the cybersecurity market, and what really differentiates them from some of the other providers out there. So, looking at the marketplace, what is SD-WAN? SD-WAN is essentially a software technology that has the ability to prioritize and direct traffic across sites, and it leverages the software to optimize the network. So, for example, if a customer wants all emails to flow no matter what, and wants to give top priority and bandwidth utilization to email, we can do that through SD-WAN. If it's an ERP system or a CRM system, SD-WAN has that ability. Now, what Secure SD-WAN does, it adds a layer of security on top of that. And as we know, the security market and the security conversation is a hot topic for organizations across the globe. For better or worse, COVID has significantly accelerated this conversation as well. And this is because there's a direct correlation between a downturn in the economy and an influx in cyber criminal activity. Essentially, what you have is a market of highly intelligent people out of work, and they're looking for a way to survive, so they go underground. Last year alone, since the start of the pandemic, March of 2020 roughly, the FBI stated a 300% increase in reported cyber criminal activity. This is a stat from Q4, guys. So I can guarantee the stats only increased, and a lot of the crimes don't go reported, so that adds to it as well. The estimated losses for this were about $4.3 billion US. This is why having a secure SD-WAN solution is so critical. So the driving factors, what are the driving factors behind SD-WAN? They're really based on the limitations of legacy infrastructure. Poor user experience for cloud applications is one. High WAN costs, maybe a traditional MPLS circuit, versus the value that they deliver. Manual operations for routing, and the inability to prioritize traffic, and limited security for direct internet access. And this is the challenge. Most SD-WAN vendors do not address security, or if they do, it's through another box, which adds complexity and oftentimes adds cost as well. This is why we created Secure SD-WAN. It utilizes Fortinet technology, and the only technology on the planet that has SD-WAN capabilities built into its next generation firewall. So why SD-WAN a little bit further? Well, a lot of organizations are moving to the cloud. 62 is the number, the average number of cloud applications that a organization has now. These organizations, 70% of them mention that their existing WAN infrastructure is brittle or slow, or it's too expensive and not effective for cloud adoption due to the backhaul that's required. And 90% of SD-WAN vendors, like I mentioned, do not provide security. With direct internet access, security becomes critical. Now, I'll pass it over to Michael, who's going to talk a little bit more about Secure SD-WAN, Fortinet, and the hype that we've built up around it. I think you're on mute, Michael.
You're on mute, Michael.
Thank you, Delvinder. March 26th of this year, SecureSense and Fortinet made an announcement that they have partnered on a secure SD-WAN solution that, of course, we look to place management on top of. And really, at the end of the day, it was picked up by a lot of different news organizations inside and outside of Canada. And the one that I like to refer to as the Wall Street Journal. And the reason why I picked this international news report is that I think there's synergies when you look at this coverage of the offering and announcement with what SecureSense actually does, and that when you're dealing with Canadian headquartered organizations, feel rest assured that if they have offices in the States, in Mexico, Central America, South America, Europe, that we can cover those branch offices with this solution. So again, if you just go into Google and type in SecureSense, Fortinet, Secure SD-WAN, you'll find all the resources from a news agency perspective that you need, and perhaps that you can use as your reason of call into some of your accounts. Next slide, Delvinder. So Fortinet markets themselves across three different pillars. Those pillars are performance, visibility, and then total cost of ownership. This first slide is going to cover off the performance piece. When you look at the CPE or hardware that typically makes up a Palo Alto or a Cisco firewall, they typically run what's considered a Wintel processor. So really good at processing applications, but not cybersecurity built specific, if you will. What Fortinet did was they actually took that chip and then designed, engineered, went to market, built their own chip. And the difference here is that the processor, the main processor, covers off all policy management type activities. And then when you look at SSL inspection, IPS, and anti-malware, that all gets funneled to the CP9 portion of the chip, which is content processor 9, ninth generation of their content processor. And then the network piece for an advanced routing, IP4 versus IP version 6, or IPsec decryption, all flows through the network processor, or NP6 at the bottom. So what's the end result? You get higher performance, less latency, less space, and less power within your organization. But why this is critical, and the piece that you really need to kind of grasp, is that 80% of the traffic on the internet today is either SSL or its later revision TSL encrypted. And you know, bad actors or threat actors know now to embed their malware into encrypted files to try and slip them through the average next generation firewall. So if you're not processing all of this type of traffic, how are you actually protecting your organization and shrinking your attack surface? And we're going to get a little bit more into the performance of this shown on this slide when we cover off the TCO in a moment. Next slide, Delvinder. The second pillar is visibility, and how Fortinet provides visibility to organizations is through what they call their security fabric. So what is the security fabric? Well, if you look at Fortinet as a technology company, they pride themselves on their over 700, nearing 800 patents. They do a lot of the work themselves internally on developing their product sets to cover off as many cybersecurity solutions as you can think of from an a la carte perspective, but they're all built to work together, which is how the security fabric is formed and how we can take all of these different aspects of cybersecurity that are relevant to the organization and deliver them to their team on a single pane of glass. And really at the end of the day, having them all work together. There's also their open API ecosystem that's worth mentioning. Fortinet built their API in an open format and have over 200 partners that have templates already built for easy connectivity. Some of those partners are Microsoft, Amazon, and Google from a cloud connectivity perspective. I believe Symantec, Trend Micro are there from an antivirus perspective, Logarithm from a SIEM perspective. So when you think about Fortinet, just don't think about the firewall and the secure SD-WAN that it can deliver. Think about web application firewalls, secure email, SIEM, SOAR, all the different aspects that you might look for in a solution, including DDoS protection and endpoint protection. All of those can be brought into a single pane of glass, but at the same time, if you want to go best of breed solution in any of those places that are on the open API ecosystem, you can just plug them in seamlessly. So that covers off the fabric and the visibility piece. Finally, TCO. Now, we mentioned earlier the performance, if you will, and you're going to see under the Fortinet box that there's the next generation firewall throughput. There's threat protection throughput, which is basically your firewall throughput plus antivirus. And then you have SSL throughput. You're going to see that on all three of these, they basically double or triple what Palo Alto, Cisco, and Checkpoint cover off. But at the same time, it's worth noting that Checkpoint does not list their SSL inspection numbers, that Cisco does not show their throughput numbers, and Palo Alto does not publish their next generation firewall numbers. And the reason being is they don't compete very well when you stack them up from a data sheet perspective to the Palo Alto solution. So think of it this way, from the applications that are listed here, there's more in the Fortinet box, but also the performance is double or triple the other boxes. Not to mention that the price point of a box is more cost effective. So the end result, you get superior enterprise grade protection and cybersecurity solutioning at a mid-market price point. And that's really where the TCO number shines when you look at Fortinet as your box of choice. And Dalvinder already covered this off earlier, but the fact that we're doing next generation firewall activities and secure SD-WAN activities on the same box means a reduction in your financial output or assets that you need to keep under management, up to date, hardened, patched, etc. So there's a lot of advantages from the Fortinet perspective. So at the beginning, I told you performance, visibility, and TCO, and I think we've covered those off pretty well here. So we'll move on to the next slide. This is the don't just take Fortinet's word for it. Gartner looks at Fortinet from a network firewall perspective in the upper right corner. That's the image on the left. In the middle, again, upper right for WAN edge or secure SD-WAN. And the third Gartner quadrant on the right is for wired and wireless LAN. This is going to be more relevant when Annie covers off the upsell opportunity that's out there. So I won't touch on it too much, but I will make the point that originally Fortinet was in a niche quadrant in the lower left. They've moved to the lower right. And being a technology company that takes pride in the patents and developing solutions, I believe that they'll get into the upper right quadrant very shortly. And most of all, because when you think about a LAN environment and a WAN environment and that firewall all working together with the same operating system and giving customers and organizations across the planet the ability to see their policy from the end user all the way to the edge and from the edge back to the end user. There's a lot of value in that statement, and this is a strategic direction of them moving forward. So I believe that's my last slide before things get turned over to Annie. So Annie, take it away.
Thanks, Michael, for that. So I just, by the way, I'm responsible for all the Eastern Canada, so for Quebec and Atlantic. And I will cover the Secure Sense part. So we talked about context, actual context, and Secure SD-WAN with Fortinet, but with Secure Sense. Secure Sense is a company that TELUS bought approximately 2 years ago. And it was founded by Vinay Malhotra and Peter Humphrey. So they operate separately from TELUS, but they are part of TELUS. They have their headquarters in Burlington, Ontario, and they launched their SOC in 2011, and they are SOC 2 Type 2 for those who, for some customers who are searching for certification, so they are SOC 2 Type 2 certified. And they receive a lot of recognition, and they have, including in 2020, the CRN, if you know, this recognition, it's a really nice recognition, the CRN MSC 500 top list. So they are really well known in the industry. And yeah, you can go to the other slide. So basically, Secure Sense and why TELUS choose to buy this company. Basically, they do their due diligence, and to be honest with you, they are the most certified Fortinet team in the country. That's why TELUS was so interested by Secure Sense. They are one of the largest SOC in Canada, and they have the most experience with the Canada's largest network. So what you need to keep in head here, they are like approximately 50 employees, so it's a small company, but they are very agile because they are a small company and they don't have a lot of people work for Secure Sense, but so they have the agility of the small company in a big company. So they are backed by TELUS, so we have all the best of the both world here, because we know sometimes with TELUS it's a big company and it's maybe a little bit less agile. So we have something really flexible here with Secure Sense. So here, when we say they are the most certified partner here in Canada, you can see at the bottom. So this is the NSE certification. This has come from Fortinet. So it starts to NSE 1 till NSE 8. So you can see the number of certification that they have currently. They are a platinum partnership. That means that it's the higher level that you can have in terms of partnership. And for that, they have two things that they look at for having this level of partnership. It's the revenue that it comes from Fortinet, and the certification that the Fortinet reseller have. So they have the most certification and the higher revenue from Fortinet here. And they have two types of specialization. They have data center and SD-WAN, because for each Fortinet reseller, you can have specialization, and here we have two important one. And if you see that SD-WAN, we have just 3 in Canada who have this specialization, and Secure Sense is one of them. So it's pretty nice to have it.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll quickly top off on that I like to point out as well, for the NSE 8 certification, the last column on the right, it shows 2. So to give you some context around that too, because it's not a big number, last time I checked with Fortinet, there was about 11. Outside of Fortinet proper, 11 NSE 8 certified resources in Canada. TELUS and Secure Sense have 2 of them. One is also on the call. Grant Merkley is also NSE 8 certified.
Good point.
Sorry, let you go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. But it's important to mention it because it's pretty rare, and we have access to those resources, and we need to leverage it.
Not to go on about that NSE 8 certification, but it is worth noting to put it in context. In the world of Cisco, an NSE 8 is a CCIE level certification, so it's very hard to achieve, and it's industry recognized for sure. Sorry, Annie.
No problem, no problem. So for Secure Sense service, we see that we have three different section. We have the managed service, professional service, and the other added service. So they offer a bunch of managed service. You can have endpoint managed service. You can have managed detection and response, and managed network and SD-WAN. We just saw it. And in this category, there's a lot of solution that you can have. And as Dalvinder and Michael mentioned, we have a lot of solution in the Fortinet portfolio, so they can manage all those solution, if it's endpoint or email protection, I would say. So we can offer this, level of management on every solution that Fortinet, basically every solution that Fortinet can provide to the customer. We have also professional services. So it can be technical support. It can be other services, added value services. Customer needs some help for, I don't know, their Fortinet infrastructure, and they need some help to tweak some things on their network. They can offer service like this. They can have architectural service and risk assessment also. And they have other value added service. They have they can resell, by the way, because we talk a lot about manage, but if you have a customer who just want to purchase some equipment with professional services, Secure Sense can offer it. So it's not built in. So for sure that there's a lot of traction regarding all the managed solution, but if the customer for a certain reason just need to purchase the equipment, Secure Sense are able to provide it also. Regarding the feature on the managed portion, so there's a lot of feature here, and I don't want to go through all those features, but basically just keep in mind that it's a 24/7 security monitoring. So, and it's proactive, okay? So it's not reactive, it's a proactive service. They will do a lot of firewall policies, so they will review the firewall policies, regular health check, software updates, things like that. And there's a bunch of other things that I will not go through, but at the end of the day, the benefits of this is to have access to a fully SOC 24/7, and they can manage all. I just said previously, but all the the Fortinet environment of the customer. So if the customer have endpoint with Fortinet, email protection, firewall, APs. So we are able to cover all the infrastructure of the customer.
Hey, Annie, we've got a question in the chat from Louis Missiano that I think you can cover off. Does TELUS widely support does TELUS widely support Secure Sense in North America, worldwide, or mostly in Canada? I think we covered that off a little earlier, in that we can do if Canada, United States, Mexico, Central America, South America, Europe for sure, because we already have instances of those in play today. And I know we can ship geared through Secure Sense to those locations as well. Did I miss anything there, Annie, or is that covered off?
No, I think it's good.
Okay. And thank you for the question, Lou.
So you can go to the other side, the Dalvinder. So here you see, I would say, like two level of management offer that we can have. Again, there's a lot of things in this slide, so just want to keep in mind that there's basically you can have two different offer here. You can have the standard one and the professional one. So there's difference between two. Basically, you need to understand that dependently of the needs of the customer, we can offer a basic one that we call operational monitoring. So basic stuff that just keep the light on, and we can go to a fully managed offer. So we really go, like, we start with the customer needs and we build the managed offer around it. So there's offer already created that you see on the screen, but we can basically create it as the customer want to have it. So we can have kind of co-managed offer also. So if the customer want to keep something, want to like take care of some element and just give others to Secure Sense team, that's okay. So it's a, you know, it's a work with the customer. So depending of the needs, we can offer different kind of level of management here.
And the way I like to look at these two support levels is, if you think about a network operations center, typically looking after a network, and then the security operations center being more of a security focused offering. The standard offering is kind of a NOC offering with some cybersecurity capabilities sprinkled in, but the professional is a pure SOC type ability that can also monitor your network. So SOC and NOC are the two terms I use and use to differentiate between standard and professional.
And we can go very far in terms of security, because keep in mind that Secure Sense is a security shop, so we can go very far if the customer have like a lot of needs and want to just don't want to touch anything regarding security. Secure Sense can take like the ownership of that. So
yeah, and Annie mentioned this already. And in the West in particular, we're seeing a lot of opportunities where co-managed is required, right? I spoke to a customer yesterday who wants all security offloaded to a third-party MSP. However, they wanted control of their web filtering. Now, most MSP providers, including the TELUS security office, will not allow for this co-management that Anne spoke about. This is a huge differentiator with Secure Sense, that we can do co-managed. Obviously, there's documentation and strict protocols that we follow, working with the customer to make sure that co-managed agreement is appropriate for what the customer needs. But definitely, if you have opportunities where the customer is going, yeah, you know what, I don't feel like giving up entire control of my network, or I want to keep this specific piece of security in-house, talk to us, because there's not many providers in the country that'll be able to offer this co-managed solution.
Yeah, and there's no particular like preset offer for co-management. So for one customer, it's something, and for the other one, it's completely something else. So it's really a discussion we have with the customer, and we start from there. So. Okay, so maybe your favorite part. Michael touched it a little bit earlier, but basically we talk about secure branch here. So we don't want to go too deep technical, but just wanted you to understand and Valvinder mentioned it, to see Fortinet is just not firewall shop, you know, so there's a lot of other solution involved when we talked about SD-WAN. So you have the FortiGate, but for sure, like for link everything with the LAN, with the WAN, there's also FortiSwitch and FortiAP. We call it Forti because it's come from Fortinet, but basically it's switch and APs. So yes, Fortinet can sell switch and APs if the customer need it. And what it's created like an ecosystem, I would say, between the FortiGate and the AP and the switch. So there's place here for to do more upsell, because for one customer, for sure, like the core solution would be about FortiGate, but for sure around that you're gonna have other needs, and we are able to provide all the solution together. So it's create an ecosystem, and it's easier for the customer to manage it after. So you have in one view everything in your network.
Yeah, it was very clever of Fortinet to build in the controllers for the switch and the controllers for the access points directly into every firewall that goes out, because then, as Annie mentioned, the upsell into that environment becomes very easy, almost plug and play-ish, if you will. And I believe her next slide will show you why that's important to you as a partner.
Compensation. So this is the favorite part of everyone. So we took an example here. So take the example of an opportunity that you have. The customer have 10 sites, 150 user, and it's Fortinet gear upgrade basically. Okay, so this is an average, I would say, opportunity. In this opportunity, the solution that we propose here with SecureSense, it's a FortiGate 60F. So the model that we will provide to the customer, we suggest it's the 60F. It can be other model, but for this customer, we'll take this example at the S60F. So in terms of like, there's 3 levels here you need to see. There's CMRG, there's one time, and there's hardware. So there are 3 components and the opportunity. So in terms of the CMRG, this represents 6K of CMRG. Okay, so this is an average opportunity. So you can have for sure smaller, but you can have bigger opportunity. In terms of one time, so we have for this opportunity, we need to offer some professional services for migration or installation of the FortiGate. So we think that 10 days will be, so SecureSense will scope the opportunity, but it will take around 10 days of professional services to implement those firewalls. And it would give you around $1,800 for this. And this is, by the way, it's one time, okay? And the hardware is the same thing. So for buying the FortiGate, you can pay upfront 21K, or you can offer it to the customer per month on a 3 years contract. So it's gonna cost $571. So you have here regarding the hardware, you have the option if the customer have CapEx or OpEx budget, you can offer it up to pay upfront 21K, or they can pay per month $571 on a 3-year contract. So this is only for the, I would say, the FortiGate part of the solution. But for sure, as we mentioned earlier, like there's always other solution around it. So there's a potential for you like to have an upsell here. So this is, I would say, the minimum you can have with this kind of opportunity, but you can go as far as 400% more in terms of revenue for this opportunity.
And I think it's worth noting here that the CMRG is also known to the partner world as monthly reoccurring revenue. And we need to nail down that management piece for you to get that portion into your personal comps. Sean and Doug, can you kind of speak to, I'm not sure if one time or the hardware sale plays into their comp plan or not?
Correct. It does. Yeah, it's a small piece of it for sure, but yeah, it's just it's the monthly recurring revenue that sometimes we don't often refer to. CMRG that's a TELUS internal lingo, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's all good. No, it's great. Yeah, you've got it there, so it's perfect.
So this is just for give you an idea of how much it can represent for you. So I think it's pretty good. And by the way, the sales cycle is very short for this kind of opportunity. So I would say from the moment you start the conversation till the moment you sign the contract, it's around, I would say, 3 months. So it's pretty good.
I'd also like to just add that having sold security solutions in the past, from a direct rep perspective, the experience is probably one of the best that I've ever had at TELUS. From implementation to statements of work, the level of professionalism that comes out of the security practice team, and that's not just with you guys, but just straight across the board, is something that I've never really seen at TELUS. And I often joked and said, if we could sell internet and cell phones like the security team is so buttoned down with how they do deliver services, we'd be unstoppable in the market. But all kidding aside, it's not only high revenue, which is significant when we're positioning that to partners that are looking at, you know, what the compensation is, that the fact that it's just delivered so well that I quite often just hung my hat with security and sold that. So it doesn't go without saying how well that's run.
Just
So
a question in the chat regarding the demo. Yeah. So we work. So we work with. There's different channel here, and that's where we are channel managers. There's SecureSense and all the SecureSense team, but there's also Fortinet. We work with Fortinet directly. So for some needs that we have, maybe we can have a demo with Grant, depending of the need, or we can organize something directly with Fortinet. So it depends of which kind of demo we want to have and what solution is involved. But yes, we can offer something like that without problem. So I think Dalvinder, is your turn for the talk track.
Yeah, for sure. So how do you identify opportunities? What are some of the easy ways that you can start the conversation? I'm not going to read this slide. It's a script that kind of helps you, but it starts with really just asking those curious questions, right? Mr. Customer, what are you doing for security? Or Mrs. Customer, how are you managing security today? Is that done in-house? Is that done out-of-house? Do you know what type of hardware you're using? If it's in-house, how is that going, right? And it depends on who you're talking to. If you're speaking to the technical audience, then just be straight up with them. Is this something you want to be doing? Is this where your specialization is? It's amazing how much, when you start talking about security, how much technical resources will open up and they will share with you. I've had many times resources say to me, no, I'm not trained. Security is not my skill set. I feel uncomfortable doing this. However, there's no other choice because we have no other option. Right? Other times you'll say, no, this is exactly what I want to be doing. And you can go, okay, well, great. Is there a way we can support you? How can we complement or augment what you're doing? Right? If it's the business stakeholder that you're speaking to, ask them about business continuity. Oh, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, it's managed in-house by Bob and Jim. That's great. If Bob wins the lottery, what is your plan? How are you still going to maintain your security posture? Do you have a roster of security personnel that you're able to hire quickly? Probably not, because I can guarantee you, globally, there's a 0% unemployment rate. There's a huge shortage of security professionals in the global market, right? And if you do have one of those customers that's fortunate enough to have security personnel in their organization, retention is extremely hard. Because you have companies like Amazon, you have companies like Microsoft that are offering salaries that are ridiculously high that oftentimes many organizations can't compete with. So they just get poached, right? So start having that conversation about business continuity, the cost of downtime, the impact of a breach, or you know, what would happen should personal information of customers or employees leak out. What is that impact to the organization? Not from just a monetary standpoint, but from a brand reputation standpoint. Business stakeholders, as much as they have fears of that happening, they're very much eager to discuss that because they want to be able to prevent that from happening, right? Now, in terms of qualifying questions, some basic questions that help us is the number of sites, right? How many employees are at each site? Do you have remote users? If so, how many? The type of technology that they're using right now, and depending on who you're talking to, depending on the urgency of the project, there's always BANT, right? We've heard that acronym: budget, authority, need, and the timeline. If we can address those as well, it's always good to have.
And Dalvinder, if I can top up on this,
yeah,
regarding the, like, you know, you mentioned that some of the customer want to like do their own manage and they want to do it in-house. And I said often to the sales team, but just keep in mind that for having the equivalent of a SOC 24/7, you need to hire 5 different people. So,
yeah.
you know, so if you think, if the customer think that just with one person that work from 8 to 5, that it will cover like the same amount of work, I would say it's impossible. So for having the equivalent of a SOC 24/7, you need to hire 5 different people, and this is very expensive for the customers. So.
Yeah, so it's not a replacement of their staff. It's let SecureSense, who have all these certifications on their bench, over 19 people sitting on their bench looking after the environments that they manage, do the day-to-day activities so that your IT people can actually focus on what's strategic to your organization and the projects that are strategic, and look at things from a higher level. So it's a partnership, not a rip and replace, or we'll leave it at that.
And when you talk with a customer, you know, for the ones who have where it's already with Fortinet, like you need to ask like the question like for other solution, like basic question that you ask regarding security, just have the reflex to asking what is your actual, are you with Fortinet for your firewalls, or you have some Fortinet environment or solution in place right now? If yes, it's a no-brainer that you need to just mention that SecureSense have an expertise in Fortinet environment, so they can help them on a professional service side, but on managed offer also. So if you talk with a customer who have already a Fortinet environment, you need to talk about SecureSense to those customers, for sure.
Yep, a very good point, and that's some of our most successful relationships come from. I can think of one particularly in BC where, like Annie mentioned, they were already Fortinet shop. They were having difficulties managing in-house. They were feeling overwhelmed, and SecureSense was able to complement the team and take over components of the security management and offload that pressure off them. So, yeah, just echoing what Annie says, if they are a Fortinet shop, 100% have that conversation with them. They are the, I'll say, easiest opportunity. Obviously, every opportunity involves the work, but they are the ones that are the low-hanging fruit. Now, just to go back to the channel contact, so Grant, well, nationally, he's the technical SE. Annie is responsible for Quebec, Manitoba, and Atlantic Canada. Ontario is under Michael, and myself here in BC and Alberta. We're always here to support you, always here to assist you. Once you uncover an opportunity, please do engage us. Going back, I know there's a question about demos, and again, just echoing what Annie said, absolutely we can do demos. We might choose, like Annie said, the Fortinet vendor themselves to come in and provide demos, or we might leverage our skill set either on the SecureSense team or Grant, who's a part of the technical team on the TELUS side, but oversees SecureSense to provide that demo as well. So anything we can do to help drive the sales cycle forward, we will do that, right? And that's kind of it. That's all I had to say. So we'll open it up to questions now.
Okay, we have one in the chat actually from Lou. What is the sweet spot for the product? Small business, medium business, 10 employees, 50, 100? I might ask Grant to chime in and give him some airtime here, but I guess the theory or the methodology I would give you is that Fortinet started in the small business and built their way up, whereas some companies went out after the large and they're trying to go down. The flip side here is that their solution is more than enterprise ready and capable, but the price points are mid-market, large, mid-market, medium. And they're really flexible. If you look at the price point of a 40, they're very cost effective in the market today. So I would almost say that any organization can benefit from a Fortinet, if you will. But Grant, do you want to chime in and give your perspective on this?
I certainly can. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Absolutely. I'll speak to, I guess, a couple of things. Number one, the ASICs that Michael mentioned earlier. What the ASICs gives you the ability to do is more with less. So you can basically take a smaller FortiGate and put it into an environment where maybe a traditional larger firewall would be required. So that's number one. So it creates a lot of scalability by doing it that way. The other one is in the operating system itself. One thing that Fortinet does really well is their operating system does scale right across the board. So whether you have like the smallest unit that's designed for a small medium business, all the way up to they do carrier class firewalls as well, all the operating systems the same. So the feature set, everything. So it doesn't really matter what size your branch is or what size your headquarters is, there's a model that will fit. And that's really the bottom line, is that they have a lot of different models that will fit into any organization. So hopefully that answers the question. If not, I can certainly expand.
That's great.
Michael, back to you. Yeah.
Anybody else want to
Yeah, the
Type in
question,
chat or-
question came in on the chat, Brent, and he just replied, Lou just replied, thank you. So I think we're good.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. If again, deeper dive, no problem. That's what I'm here for. I heard throwing out a demo. I have a full functioning lab here, so by all means, anybody wants a look under the hood, no problem. We can schedule that. So awesome. Back to you, Michael.
Yeah, I think in closing, there is one thing that I want you to keep in mind. Keep your ears open for cybersecurity. Keep your ears open for SD-WAN, and keep your ears open for Fortinet. If you hear any of those three things, please follow the process that Sean and Doug have in place with your lead submission form. Choose the cybersecurity one and maybe mention Fortinet, SD-WAN, or cybersecurity. And in the background, those should get funneled to myself for Ontario, Dalvinder for BC and Alberta, and Annie for rest of Canada. So the reason why we want it to come to us is so that we proactively get engaged from the beginning and it doesn't die on the vine. Trust me when we say that we're hungry for these and that we'll make sure that they get qualified to the right people in TELUS and worked properly. Sean, I think you were gonna.
Just another question there, Michael. How does Fortinet SD-WAN security compare to Meraki?
That's definitely a Grant answer, and I've got a wicked slide that shows you what Fortinet does really well, 20 reasons to choose it, but we can chat later on that. I'll put my email actually in the chat. If anyone wants that slide, I'll share it.
So Meraki versus Fortinet, it's a good question, comes up pretty much all the time. So the Fortinet solution is different versus what you'll see with a Meraki or a Viptela or even a VeloCloud. It doesn't have a centralized orchestration model. So that's what you'll typically find with those other solutions. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different architecture. So basically all the decision making is centralized through those. The Fortinet's a little different because you have an edge firewall that has the capability to process packets and keep up with the speeds and feeds. All those decisions are done on the edge. So it's a faster response time, and it's a lot more scalable that way as well, because as you add more branches on, more firewalls on, it's just a matter of adding into that SD-WAN fabric. So I was going to mention one other thing too, just off the top, more or less a closing remark. So I've been doing this for 10 years. So I actually worked at Fortinet for a number of years, 9 years, and then 2 years earlier, I came over to the TELUS side. But what I've seen from my experience, those that are successful at selling Fortinet understand that this is a problem-solving tool. So you go into your accounts, and if you can find out what the problem is, it makes life a lot easier, because then you present this as, hey, we're here to offer you a solution. And FortiOS, which is the operating system underneath the FortiGate, it has a lot of flexibility. That's why techies like myself love it, because it can do a lot of things and it can solve a lot of problems with your customers. So I'll just leave that with you. But Michael, back to you. If there's any other questions, by all means, I'll be here for you.
Actually, Jesse,
sorry, I was going to top up on the Meraki Cisco as well. The difference of Fortinet and Meraki. One of the biggest things is SSL decryption and inspection as well. So if you recall, Michael said about 80% of the traffic going through the internet today is SSL encrypted. Meraki, that's one of the points where it does struggle. So if that's important for the customer, to some customers it's not. But I'm willing to bet most organizations would want to have 80% of the traffic. They don't want visibility into that. So that's where Fortinet does come out in this ability to not only decrypt, but inspect SSL traffic as well. So bad actors and criminals that are trying to mask themselves as secure and SSL encrypted, it can inspect those and catch them before they enter the environment as well. Sorry, Mike, over to you.
No, it's okay. Grant, I think we're going to use you again here. Jesse has a question. Does Fortinet offer latency-based routing? I believe the answer is yes, but I'll leave it alone.
Latency-based route, you mean can they do QoS? If that's a QoS conversation, absolutely. They can do DSCP tags. So if there's like voice traffic going through, it can prioritize the traffic, lower the latency. One of the things that we spoke about the A6 earlier, that's kind of where they come into play as well, is these are very low latency firewalls, like we're talking 2 milliseconds in some cases. So that's one of the areas that frankly FortiGates excel at. So again, I don't know if that answers the question. I can't see the chat, but by all means, you know, if you have a follow-up question, then put it in the chat. But
well, and you mentioned quality of service, Grant.
Yep.
I know they also do class of service, so you can actually stack your applications within the network to make sure that voice is at the top of the pyramid, if you will, and you know, stuff like Facebook or LinkedIn fall to the bottom. I'm not sure if that is, but Jesse's actually in regards to load balancing and using other internet connections.
Oh, sorry, on load balancing. So yeah, it can absolutely, well, that's what SD-WAN is if you're looking at it from sort of an applications point of view. So it can absolutely, it can do any kind of load balancing, like it can do, as I mentioned, priority queuing, if that's what you need. So
actually, Jesse's just emailed me, Grant. So you know what we'll do here? I'll share the slides on the 20 reasons why to use Fortinet with Jesse, but I'll copy you on the response as well, and we'll take this one offline.
Perfect. Yep, that would be fine. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that we have a call with Jesse. So great. Thanks for doing that, Jesse. Good stuff. Well, I think we'll take silence as golden. Again, just a reminder for everybody that Annie's to support you in the East, so Quebec and Atlantic, and you'll be working with Eric, Danielle, and Chuck for all of your channel requirements. As Michael and I here in Ontario, and then Delvinder and I in BC, and then Delvinder and Delicia in Alberta. Saskatchewan, and is that how you guys divide up the country? Is the prairies lumped in under you, Delvinder, as well with Delicia?
Yeah, I'll take that. The way I like to kind of explain it is Delvinder is BC and Alberta. I'm Ontario, and then Annie's rest of Canada.
Oh, there you go. That makes it easy.
It's easiest. Yeah. It's easiest that way.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we look forward to the lead submissions. If you guys have ideas, opportunities from a a client perspective, please just float it by. I know the team, Michael and Delvinder and Annie, are really engaged and really happy to just have some pre-qualification calls with partners and clients, and just they're here to support us, and it's really refreshing to have that level of support from the security team. So once again, thanks for joining us. It's been great and great questions, and we look forward to some success, and we can share this moving forward.
Thanks for your time, everybody. Thanks for setting this up.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, team.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All
right.
Bye. Bye.